Hey everybody, Brian Good here. It's the latest edition of Storm Talk. Get you through the next several days. Talk a little bit more about the longer term setup based on some of the data rolling in here on this midday. Severe risk today, way north. In fact, Great Lakes Northeast is where the best wind fields are. It gives you an idea how calm the wind fields are across much of the lower 48. Just pop-up thunderstorms is the main issue. Now, there is a boundary, more of a warm front. Actually, it's a cold front that drops down tomorrow. It'll stall it and then become a warm front and go back north. But we'll see that drop-down effect tomorrow, so there is a slight risk across Indiana and Ohio and the Plain States, none of our area, and then this is where it begins reversal again as we head into about Thursday, mainly keeping storms off to our north. Very little, if any, impact here locally. All right, today we are watching a couple of things here. First off, temperature outside right now is at this taping 85 degrees, lower 80s elsewhere. The dew points, though, they're starting to drop north to south. See some 50s showing up. The dry air is trying to punch its way in. The problem is there's still just enough moisture around across Kentucky that we can't completely rule out an idea of a pop-up downpour or thunderstorm that could get going. You can see the cumulus clouds starting to bubble up a little more over Spencer County near Bardstown, so wouldn't rule out the chance that something could get going. Better chance early more south and east you go in eastern Kentucky where they get more of an orographic lift there. They're getting help from the topography of the land. The wind goes up the mountain range there, and it allows the thunderstorm to get some extra help. So that's a better chance by all means. But with the moisture around central and southern Kentucky, I mean, it looks like maybe a 5 or 10% chance. But I at least want to mention that there is that chance that there could be a pop-up. So if you get rain on later today in that area, don't get all mad at me. Okay, here's the latest on the satellite image. If you look carefully, there's a little bit of a haze showing up right across Ohio, Indiana. This is smoke from the wildfires across Canada that took place. It really caused a cool-looking shot of the sunset and sunrise around the Milwaukee area that took place earlier on. So it could have some nice sunset pictures from Indianapolis through Columbus, Ohio. I don't think we have that much here to really benefit from. It's way up high, so no breathing issues with that, by the way. Now, here's one of the short-range models. You see what it does this afternoon. It's saying there's going to be quite a bit of action begin to pop all over on the radar. This is probably overdone, but at least tells me that it's also seeing some of the things that we were looking at as far as the moisture pulling up, and could see a brief downpour, and that's why we at least want to mention that. And then once the sun goes down, it's all she wrote. It's over with. So now let's talk about as we get into the weekend. First off, Thursday, we're going to get more of a high pressure to build in. It's going to be drier tomorrow in the atmosphere. Today it's somewhat humid, and it's trying to dry itself out. That's why the storm chance is not a big deal unless you're in that deeper moisture area south of Louisville. But tomorrow, a lot of us will have a fairly dry atmosphere. Yes, it's going to be hot, and it may still feel somewhat humid, but as far as looking at the atmosphere as a whole, there's not as much moisture. So our rain chance is not an issue tomorrow. And really on Friday, maybe a slightly better chance for some moisture to work its way into the atmosphere that could get a brief pop-up, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal Friday. Problem is going to be Saturday and Sunday and probably even Monday. There is going to be this front that's going to get close enough to us. At the same time, a good flow will ride up here the Mississippi River. And the question is, as these showers and storms ride around this area of high pressure off the Carolina coast, how much of the influence will these showers have in Kentucky? Is the moisture field going to stay within the lines, if you will, or will it mainly kind of waver here on the edge over Louisville for Saturday and Sunday? And even a day at night, you can have this kind of a setup. So kind of iffy here on the rain chance. I'm going to keep it still pretty low here for the weekend. I think your higher chance is going to be much more in the center of the path, which would be Indianapolis all the way down to Little Rock. But again, we'll be right on the edge of the curving feature, so we'll have to at least put a chance in of rain as we get into the weekend. Now, as we get into early next week, the front will take a little bit of a dip here across the northern Atlantic, but you can definitely see where the high has an influence. It's really trying to get control again of the southeast corner of the country and tries to push that wall of moisture, or showers and thunderstorms, or we call that the ring of fire. Doesn't always connect completely all the way around, but you get the idea. That looks somewhat of a ring that's developing, and it's going to try to push that ring up to the north, the northwest, to get it back into central Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, and give us somewhat of a break, at least a smaller rain chance, but it also means a better chance to get very much on the hot side. The models are having a tough time, though, on this pattern for early next week and even beyond, determining how strong this high is going to be, how far does it back up to take an influence over us, and eventually it's going to build more into the plain states as well, and that's going to allow for the northerly winds to eventually win out by, I would say, Father's Day, if not a couple of days after that. So let me show you the issue we're having. Here is the GFS ensemble data, and anytime you see heights in the atmosphere, This is the number we're looking at. When you get into that 591, 594, you're talking about a heat wave developing. And it's showing that early next week, decent heights over the southeast corner, and we're right on the edge of that. So potential is there for 90 to 92 degrees or so if you look at the GFS. The Canadian is not as impressed with that idea. It tries to suppress the influence of that high, and again, puts us more into that zone of influence of showers and storms as a result. Then as we enter the core of later next week, heading toward Father's Day weekend, but I would say about next Thursday, 17th and 18th of June, somewhere around there, that is where it builds the core big time. It slides it over and really builds it in much more in the nation's heartland. We're on the edge, so we still could have some decent heats, especially across our western counties and southern Kentucky, but we're also in that northerly flow very close to us that we can start getting some decent complexes of storms to ride down, and got to watch Indiana and Ohio for that by all means. But we're probably going to be safe enough from the high protection if this GFS model is right, to where it mainly just pop-up thunderstorms, more heat than anything. But again, the Canadian says, nope, that's not going to happen, that there's not going to be too much of a strong core at all. In fact, it's going to be very stormy and very active in the Ohio Valley. I will say that I just checked the European model. I can't post it, but I did see some of the data, and it's kind of the blend of both of them. But it is leaning a little more toward the GFS idea of the more heat, more high influence of the high pressure, more so than the Ring of Fire being on top of Kentucky. So some challenges we got here on the extended forecast by all means. But I will say that at this point, temperatures at least several days at 90 to 92 are looking likely over the next 7 to 10 days. But if the Canadian's right, that's not going to happen. It's going to be wet, stormy, and active. But right now, it doesn't have a lot of support on that idea. So that's the latest thinking right now as we head into this weekend and early next week and then even beyond. Hopefully your AC is working. You're going to need it. And hopefully you got a pool nearby as well, and because you're going to need it. And you're going to need to tell me where you live. I'll talk to you soon.